The story of history, as we were taught in classrooms, is neat and ordered, a series of dates and names, victories and defeats, neatly arranged on pages that never tremble. We memorize kings and battles, empires rising and falling, the clear lines of cause and effect laid out as though the world itself were a simple narrative. Yet, as the evening light softens and shadows stretch across the ancient stones of our imagination, one begins to sense that beneath the surface of this familiar story, something more lingers, a whisper, almost inaudible, of events and knowledge that have been deliberately hidden or forgotten. It is in this quiet space, between what is known and what has been deliberately erased, that the true mysteries of our past begin to emerge. Imagine a world where the scribes and scholars did not merely record what was convenient or politically safe, but where the full tapestry of human experience was captured in all its complexity. Ancient scrolls decayed in hidden chambers, voices of entire civilizations fading into dust. Archaeological ruins, half buried beneath centuries of soil and memory, speak not of what we were told, but of what might have been. The stones of forgotten cities hold echoes of ceremonies, technologies, and ideas that we may never fully understand. Some of these echoes are subtle, a carving whose meaning is lost to us, a pattern in stone whose purpose was once known. Others are bold, defying explanation, evidence of a sophistication in understanding the world that seems almost impossibly advanced. History, as it is usually presented, is a map drawn by those in power. Roads and rivers, victories and losses are highlighted, while the shadowed paths, the discoveries too dangerous, the truths too threatening, are left uncharted. And yet, these hidden trails are where the imagination longs to wander. They're the spaces between the lines of textbooks, the flickers of candlelight in forgotten libraries, the margins of old manuscripts where scribes dared to write what might not survive. In these spaces, the ordinary rules of history give way to wonder. The forbidden knowledge, the stories that defy the neat and orderly narrative, offer a deeper sense of humanity's journey, our curiosity, our brilliance, and sometimes our folly. Consider the quiet power of a single artifact, a carved stone, a metal tool, a fragment of parchment. In the right hands, it can whisper secrets of ancient societies, hinting at technologies and beliefs that challenge the very foundations of what we thought we knew. And yet, often, these whispers are ignored or explained away, because the world prefers certainty over mystery, simplicity over complexity. The knowledge contained in these fragments, if fully understood, could reshape the way we see civilization itself, revealing connections and innovations that have been deliberately buried or lost in the sweep of time. As we prepare to journey through these hidden corridors of history, it is important to understand that curiosity is not merely an academic pursuit. It is a quiet, gentle act of exploration, a meditation on the vastness of human experience and the depths of what remains unseen. We will not rush. There is no need to reach conclusions. Instead, we will move softly from one secret to the next, lingering in the spaces where history and mystery intertwine. In these moments, the mind can drift freely, imagining possibilities while accepting the limits of what can be known. The allure of forbidden history lies not in proof or certainty, but in the quiet tension between what we accept as fact and what is hidden in shadow. It is a place where the familiar world dissolves, and our understanding of human ingenuity and mystery deepens. It is here, in this space between light and dark, known and unknown, that we will begin our journey. Through ruins and relics, through stories erased and rewritten, we will wander slowly, letting the past speak to us not with loud proclamations, but with gentle, persistent whispers. So, as the evening grows deeper and the room grows quieter, imagine yourself walking along these hidden corridors. Imagine the soft weight of history pressing gently against your awareness, the scent of old parchment and weathered stone mingling with the calm of night. Every shadow, every faded inscription carries a story that was never meant to be told in a classroom. Every quiet relic a key to a door we have only begun to notice. In this journey, there are no final answers, only the quiet unfolding of curiosity and wonder. And it is in this unfolding that the mind begins to relax, ready to drift into reflection, ready to fall gently into the soft embrace of sleep, guided by the mysteries of a history that was almost forgotten. Long before the maps of the modern world were drawn, long before the rise and fall of empires that dominate the pages of textbooks, there were civilizations whose stories remain largely hidden, whose names are whispered only in the most careful circles of archaeology and speculation. These are the societies that flourished in silence, crafting cities of stone, networks of trade, and systems of knowledge that rivaled our own understanding. Their achievements were remarkable, yet history has largely neglected them, leaving fragments of their existence to be pieced together like delicate shards of glass scattered across centuries. When we study them, we encounter a world both familiar and strange, the echo of human ambition, innovation, and ritual, yet shrouded in shadows of mystery. Take, for instance, the Indus Valley Civilization, whose streets were meticulously planned, whose baths and granaries speak of an understanding of sanitation and urban design that astonishes modern observers. Cities such as Mohenjo-daro and Harappa suggest a society governed by precision and foresight, yet the meaning behind their script remains undeciphered, their rulers lost to time. There are no royal tombs brimming with treasures, no grand narratives of conquest, only the quiet, steadfast evidence of a culture that thrived without leaving the kinds of records we expect. And in that absence, imagination is invited to roam freely. We picture a people moving through cool stone corridors, children playing in courtyards of red brick, merchants exchanging goods along dusty streets that have long since been reclaimed by the earth. Far to the west, the megalith builders of Europe left monuments that still defy explanation. Stonehenge, perched on the windswept plains of Salisbury, continues to puzzle historians and astronomers alike. How were these massive stones transported, shaped, and aligned with such precision? Theories abound, yet none fully capture the ingenuity required to construct these enduring symbols of human determination. In Brittany and throughout the Mediterranean, similar megalithic structures rise silently from the soil, their purpose partly known, partly veiled. Were they tombs, observatories, ceremonial sites, or markers of forgotten wisdom? Perhaps they were all of these, and yet more, their true meaning slipping like water through our fingers. As we follow these hidden paths, it becomes clear that history, as commonly taught, is only the brightest thread of a far more intricate tapestry. For every civilization celebrated in textbooks, there are dozens that existed in parallel, leaving behind remnants that hint at knowledge now obscured. Archaeological finds occasionally emerge from the earth like faint whispers. Intricately carved figurines, pottery with cryptic symbols, tools whose sophistication challenges assumptions about early technology. These fragments suggest societies deeply attuned to both their environment and the celestial rhythms above them. They invite questions that cannot be answered with certainty. How much knowledge was lost to conquest, fire, or the slow erosion of time? How many discoveries were deliberately suppressed by those who sought to control the narrative of human achievement? In parts of Africa, Asia, and the Americas, traces of ancient ingenuity continue to emerge, hinting at an interconnectedness that defies linear storytelling. In the highlands of Peru, for example, terraced fields carved into mountainsides demonstrate an understanding of irrigation, soil preservation, and agricultural optimization that seems almost modern. In the dense forests of Central Africa, remnants of forgotten kingdoms whisper of societies rich in culture, governance, and craft, yet barely remembered by history. And in the vast deserts of Arabia, traces of cities and trade routes suggest networks of commerce and communication stretching across continents, long before the rise of the empires recorded in conventional texts. The allure of these civilizations lies not only in their accomplishments, but also in the gaps they leave behind. What do they believe? How do they understand the cosmos? What stories did they tell their children as night fell, beneath skies unpolluted by city lights? These questions drift like soft clouds, inviting quiet contemplation rather than urgent answers. In pondering them, one senses the delicate interplay between the known and the unknown, between the fragments preserved and the vast landscapes of human endeavor that have vanished. There is also a quiet beauty in the way these ancient peoples left traces not for glory, but for continuity. Unlike the rulers whose names are engraved in stone and remembered by history for conquest, these civilizations speak through the subtler evidence of daily life. Streets, workshops, and temples echo with the rhythm of ordinary existence. The objects they left behind, tools, pottery, jewelry, carry stories of practical wisdom, artistry, and care. In their work, one senses a connection to the natural world, a respect for cycles of life and season, a vision of community that is both tangible and profound. And yet, the mystery remains. Why do some civilizations vanish almost without a trace, while others dominate the historical record? Why are some architectural marvels preserved, while entire cities sink beneath rivers, sands, or forests? These questions are rarely answered, and perhaps that is precisely the point. History, like a soft night breeze through ancient ruins, does not reveal all at once. It invites patience, reflection, and the gentle awakening of wonder. In contemplating the lives of those long past, we encounter the duality of human experience, the light of ingenuity and creativity, the shadow of loss and concealment. In the quiet of this contemplation, the mind begins to drift, tracing the outlines of vanished streets and forgotten monuments. One can almost hear the footsteps of children on cobbled lanes, the murmur of merchants negotiating in open markets, the chants of priests marking the passage of the sun and moon. These images, though intangible, create a bridge between the distant past and our own consciousness. They remind us that the story of humanity is never complete, and that the thrill of discovery lies as much in the questions we cannot answer as in the facts we can. Thus, the shadows of ancient civilizations beckon gently, encouraging us to explore not with haste, but with the slow, deliberate curiosity of a wanderer in a vast and quiet landscape. In the spaces between the ruins, in the whispers of artifacts, there's a soft, persistent invitation to imagine, to reflect, and to surrender to the mystery of human history that has been deliberately obscured. It is a journey without urgency, a passage through time that soothes the mind while engaging the imagination. And as we begin this journey, we carry with us the sense that history is alive, not merely recorded, but whispered, waiting for those willing to listen in the soft hours of night. History is written, preserved, and passed down through words, on clay tablets, parchment scrolls, codices, and fragile manuscripts. Yet for every text that survived, countless others were lost to fire, water, decay, or deliberate destruction. Hidden among the ruins of ancient libraries and monasteries lie fragments of knowledge that once illuminated entire civilizations. Some texts were censored or burned because their ideas challenged prevailing power structures, religious doctrines, or social norms. Others simply disappeared, buried under the weight of centuries, their meaning fading as the languages in which they were written were forgotten. These lost writings carry whispers of forbidden knowledge, a quiet reminder that what we know is only part of what has ever been known. Imagine holding a scroll that has survived millennia, its edges charred and brittle, its ink faded yet still legible. The words speak of ideas so advanced or controversial that they could have reshaped societies if allowed to endure. Perhaps it describes the mechanics of the heavens with a precision that rivals modern astronomy, or a system of medicine more sophisticated than what was thought possible in that era. Yet because these texts were hidden, destroyed, or dismissed, the wisdom they contained remained out of reach. buried like a seed beneath centuries of soil. The sense of mystery deepens when we realize how much human knowledge might have been deliberately suppressed, preserved only in fragments or whispers. Consider the Nag Hammadi Library, discovered in Egypt in the mid-20th century, a collection of Gnostic texts that had lain hidden for centuries. These writings reveal a spiritual worldview strikingly different from the orthodox teachings of their time, offering insight into the diverse ways early humans understood existence, the divine, and the self. Or think of the forbidden books of the Middle Ages, censored by institutions fearful of knowledge that might challenge authority. Each lost or hidden text represents a door to a past we can only partially imagine, a door that opens to worlds of thought that may forever remain beyond our grasp. Yet, even in fragments, these lost texts stir the imagination. The mere suggestion of knowledge denied to the masses creates a sense of wonder, as if the universe itself has conspired to keep secrets just out of reach. Scholars have spent lifetimes piecing together meaning from these remnants, attempting to reconstruct lost philosophies, forgotten sciences, and vanished literatures. Every line, every symbol, every margin filled with an annotation offers a tantalizing glimpse into a mind from another era, a mind that thought differently, observed differently, and understood reality in ways that we are only beginning to appreciate. It is not only the content of these texts that captivates, but the story of their survival. Many were hidden deliberately, tucked away in jars, buried in the desert, or concealed behind monastery walls. Some endured in the memory of oral traditions, repeated quietly from generation to generation, until a chance discovery brought them to light. The journey of a single manuscript from creation to rediscovery often feels as mysterious and intricate as the knowledge it contains. Each surviving document is a survivor of war, conquest, natural disaster, and the slow erosion of human memory, a fragile beacon that bridges centuries and cultures. In exploring these forbidden texts, we encounter the tension between what is preserved and what is lost, between the light of recorded knowledge and the shadow of deliberate erasure. The texts that remain provide a contrast to the vast void of what has vanished, a reminder of the immense breadth of human thought that history has failed to capture. Every discovery of a previously unknown manuscript is a moment of illumination, revealing ideas that challenge conventional timelines, question accepted narratives, or hint at technologies and philosophies far ahead of their time. The mystery deepens when we consider the intent behind such suppression. Why were these texts hidden? Was it fear? Fear of change? Fear of upheaval? Fear of knowledge that might undermine authority? Or was it preservation, an attempt to safeguard wisdom for future generations, waiting for a moment when humanity would be ready to understand it? In pondering these questions, one cannot help but feel a quiet sense of reverence for those who risked, or even sacrificed, to protect knowledge that could not safely exist in their time. The act of hiding knowledge transforms it into something almost sacred, a relic not only of information, but of human curiosity and courage. Among these hidden texts are records that describe lost technologies, advanced scientific ideas, and philosophical reflections that challenge our understanding of ancient societies. Some manuscripts hint at mathematical systems more sophisticated than previously thought, while others describe medical practices lost to time. Even religious and mystical texts, often dismissed by mainstream scholarship, contain insights into human consciousness and cosmology that seem remarkably prescient. The allure of forbidden knowledge lies not only in its mystery, but in its potential to reshape the way we view ourselves, our history, and our place in the cosmos. Yet, the fascination is not purely intellectual. There is a subtle, almost hypnotic pleasure in imagining the journey of a lost text. We picture ancient scribes laboring by candlelight, ink-stained fingers tracing symbols that may never be understood. We imagine secretive collectors, monks, or scholars carefully concealing manuscripts in hidden chambers, jars, or secret shelves. We imagine the thrill of rediscovery when a modern hand brushes dust from a scroll and reveals words that have not been spoken for centuries. In this way, the story of forbidden knowledge is not just a history of ideas, but a narrative of human persistence, secrecy, and the timeless hunger to understand what is hidden. Exploring these lost texts is like walking through a dimly lit corridor of human history, where every shadow hints at something extraordinary, and every fragment points toward a vast expanse of unknown knowledge. The mind drifts between what is known and what is forbidden, between what survived and what was deliberately erased. It is a space of quiet curiosity, where contemplation is more important than conclusion, and where wonder outweighs certainty. The act of listening, imagining, and reflecting allows the viewer to wander these hidden corridors gently, almost like drifting through a dream, guided by the soft illumination of secrets long thought lost. And so, as we turn the pages of these ancient, hidden texts, we move further into the mysteries of our past. We follow the traces of knowledge deliberately concealed, lost, or forgotten, allowing the mind to linger in the delicate tension between light and shadow. We begin to understand that the history taught in schools is only the surface of a far deeper story. Beneath it lies a world of ideas, technologies, philosophies, and wisdom that has waited silently, patiently, for centuries to reveal itself. And it is in this quiet waiting, in this space between discovery and mystery, that the mind relaxes, the imagination awakens, and the journey into forbidden history truly begins. From the quiet pages of hidden texts and the whispered stories of lost civilizations, we turn to the tangible remnants of human ingenuity, structures that rise from the earth like silent monuments to a knowledge almost forgotten. These are the creations of ancient engineers and architects who understood forces, materials, and mathematics in ways that continue to astonish us today. The precision of their work, the scale of their ambition, and the elegance of their constructions speak of minds attuned not only to practicality, but also to the profound aesthetics of order, harmony, and celestial alignment. Walking among these remnants, we are drawn into a quiet awe, the kind that makes the imagination both wander and rest simultaneously. Consider the Great Pyramids of Giza, standing for nearly 5 millennia in the shifting sands of Egypt. Their massive stones, some weighing several tons, were quarried, transported, and assembled with a precision that challenges modern understanding. Lines and angles align with the stars. The internal chambers reflect a sophistication of planning and geometry that seems almost otherworldly. How could such a feat be accomplished with the simple tools available at the time? Scholars debate, theories abound, yet the full story remains elusive. And perhaps this is the point. These monuments are not only tombs or temples. They are bridges to a human past that thought differently, measured differently, and reached for the extraordinary. Thousands of miles away, Stonehenge rises from the English plains in an equally enigmatic fashion. The massive stones, some brought from quarries hundreds of kilometers away, form circles that echo the patterns of the sun, moon, and stars. Alignments with solstices suggest an understanding of astronomy and seasonal cycles far beyond what one might expect from a Neolithic society. The air around these stones seems to hum with quiet energy, as if the earth itself remembers the hands that placed each megalith so carefully. It is a monument not only to skill, but to intention, a deliberate conversation between humanity and the cosmos, preserved in stone for centuries. Even beyond these well-known examples, countless other constructions continue to defy explanation. The subterranean cities of Cappadocia, with their tunnels, ventilation systems, and hidden chambers, suggest not only a technical brilliance, but also a sophisticated understanding of human behavior, defense, and survival. Across the Mediterranean, the megalithic temples of Malta stand as silent witnesses to the spiritual and architectural sophistication of societies we know very little about. In each case, we encounter evidence that humans of the distant past were capable of feats that require patience, collaboration, and insight, a knowledge that often surpasses the assumptions of modern scholars. What is particularly captivating is the contrast between what is known and what remains mysterious. While we can measure, map, and document these constructions, we cannot always explain the methods by which they were achieved or the full intention behind them. Were these structures purely functional, or did they serve as conduits for ritual, philosophy, or lost technologies? Did they encode knowledge meant to survive centuries, waiting for someone capable of decoding it? The uncertainty leaves room for reflection, inviting the mind to drift along the edges of possibility. In this space between understanding and mystery, we begin to perceive the richness of human ambition unfiltered by modern assumptions. Ancient engineers often integrated knowledge of the natural world into their designs in ways we're only beginning to appreciate. Water channels carved into mountainsides, tunnels cut to allow ventilation in subterranean dwellings, and stones quarried with an awareness of thermal expansion all speak of practical knowledge fused with observation and experimentation. Yet beyond this, some monuments suggest a symbolic intelligence, a desire to align human achievement with cosmic or spiritual principles. They reflect a world in which engineering, art, and philosophy were intertwined, a world in which the very act of construction was a meditation on existence itself. These structures also hint at a broader network of lost knowledge. Across continents and oceans, we find recurring patterns: pyramids in Egypt and Mesoamerica, circular stone arrangements in Europe and Africa, and terraced landscapes in South America and Asia. While cultural contact cannot always be proven, the similarities in scale, design, and purpose provoke questions. Did these societies independently reach similar solutions, guided by the same universal principles? Or was there a transmission of ideas, a hidden thread connecting humanity across oceans and deserts, preserved in silence for generations? The mysteries embedded in these constructions remind us that our understanding of history is often incomplete, shaped as much by what is missing as by what survives. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of these ancient constructions is their endurance. Centuries of wind, rain, and human activity have left their mark, yet many structures remain astonishingly intact. This resilience speaks not only to the ingenuity of their builders, but also to their understanding of materials, forces, and time itself. There's a quiet lesson in their survival. That knowledge, when embedded in form and practice, can endure far beyond the lifetime of its creator. Walking through these ruins, one feels a connection to minds long gone, a sense of continuity that transcends the boundaries of centuries. In reflecting on these achievements, one cannot ignore the sense of deliberate concealment or loss that often accompanies them. Some sites were abandoned, hidden, or destroyed, leaving behind only fragments of their original purpose. Others have been misinterpreted, reduced to curiosity rather than celebrated as evidence of advanced understanding. This duality, the brilliance preserved alongside the obscured, creates a tension that fuels both wonder and contemplation. It is a reminder that human history is not only a record of what was accomplished, but also a narrative shaped by what was forgotten or hidden. As we move through these ancient landscapes, our attention shifts from the monumental to the subtle. The carving of a single stone, the alignment of a doorway, the trace of a water channel long silted over. These details, often overlooked, carry with them profound insight into the thought processes, ingenuity, and values of those who came before. They invite the imagination to linger, to picture hands chiseling, measuring, and aligning, all in the pursuit of something both practical and transcendent. In doing so, we experience a quiet wonder, a sense of time stretching backward and forward simultaneously, connecting the present to an almost unimaginable past. Ultimately, these structures stand as more than architectural marvels. They are monuments to human curiosity and ambition, to the persistent desire to understand, shape, and connect with the world. They remind us that history is not merely a sequence of events, but a tapestry of discovery, invention, and intention, woven through the ingenuity of countless individuals who dared to think beyond their time. And as we walk among their silent stones, tracing the lines and angles, we are invited not only to admire, but to reflect, to let our minds drift gently along the corridors of possibility, marveling at both the known and the unknowable as the quiet mysteries of the past unfold softly before us. As we move from the grandeur of monumental structures to the quieter corridors of hidden knowledge, it is worth pausing to reflect on the spaces between what is recorded and what is forgotten. History, as it is commonly presented, tends to emphasize triumphs, victories, and visible achievements, leaving the subtler threads of human experience to fade into shadow. Yet in these quiet spaces, where certainty gives way to speculation, the imagination begins to wander and the mind finds room to drift. It is here, in the delicate balance between the known and the unknown, that the essence of forbidden history becomes most apparent. A gentle invitation to explore without urgency, to contemplate without expectation, and to let curiosity unfold at its own pace. Consider the patterns that emerge when one looks closely at the remnants of civilizations that have been partially lost or deliberately hidden. Streets abandoned centuries ago, the faint outline of walls buried beneath layers of earth, or manuscripts whose meanings are tantalizingly obscure, all hint at a broader narrative that has been quietly erased or overlooked. These gaps in the historical record are not voids, but spaces for reflection. They encourage us to consider the choices of those who preserved certain knowledge and discarded or concealed other parts, as well as the unpredictable hand of time that decides what endures and what vanishes. In doing so, we begin to see history not as a linear path, but as a living landscape, full of hidden valleys and secret passageways, waiting to be explored with gentle attention. The tension between the known and the unknown is not meant to frustrate, but to soothe the imagination. It is a kind of quiet meditation, a space where the mind can wander freely among ancient ruins and lost cities, imagining the lives, thoughts, and innovations of people long gone. In this reflective pause, the mysteries of forbidden history take on a softer tone, revealing themselves as invitations rather than challenges. There is no rush to understand fully, no pressure to resolve uncertainty. Instead, the emphasis is on observation, contemplation, and the serene awareness that the past is layered, complex, and often intentionally concealed. This connecting space also allows us to sense the motives behind the concealment of knowledge. Some civilizations deliberately hidden ideas to protect them from misuse, while others suppressed truths to maintain power or control. Still, other forms of knowledge were lost simply because they were fragile, written on delicate materials, or entrusted to memory alone. As we consider these possibilities, a pattern emerges. The interplay between light and shadow, visibility and obscurity, knowledge preserved and knowledge forbidden. It is a delicate rhythm, a gentle ebb and flow that mirrors the cycles of night and day, consciousness and dream, inquiry and repose. In this moment of quiet reflection, we can also begin to perceive the human element within forbidden history, the curiosity, courage, and sometimes fear that guided those who created, preserved, or hidden knowledge. There is a deep beauty in recognizing that history is not merely a collection of dates and events, but a record of human intention, human limitation, and human imagination. The act of pausing to consider what was hidden allows us to connect with those intentions across time, sensing the whispers of minds that thought, experimented, and wondered long before our own. This connection is subtle, like a soft wind brushing across the surface of a still pond, yet it carries with it the profound resonance of continuity and shared human experience. By lingering in this reflective space, the mind begins to prepare for the deeper explorations that lie ahead. We move gently from the solid evidence of monumental achievements into the subtler, more enigmatic territories of secret societies and concealed knowledge. This is not a transition of urgency, but of rhythm, a slow, deliberate shift from the tangible to the abstract, from the visible to the hidden. It is a bridge that allows curiosity to deepen without tension and imagination to wander without distraction. In this way, we honor both the known and the unknown, allowing the mysteries of forbidden history to unfold with a quiet, meditative grace. As the night grows deeper, the mind softens, ready to absorb the stories that are rarely told. It is in this calm, liminal space between the monumental and the mysterious that forbidden history begins to take shape in the imagination. The mind can rest in contemplation, drifting gently among ruins, texts, and whispers of knowledge that have survived against the odds. This pause is an essential part of the journey, a moment to breathe, to reflect, and to allow the shadowed paths of history to reveal themselves slowly, almost imperceptibly, like stars emerging in a twilight sky. And so, we linger in the quiet, knowing that the journey will continue into realms where secrets are preserved in shadow, where ancient wisdom was deliberately hidden, and where human ingenuity reaches beyond what is immediately visible. In this gentle reflection, the mind is invited to rest and wander, to dream and explore, and to enter the soft, immersive rhythm that will carry us into the next stage of forbidden history. As we move deeper into the quiet corridors of hidden history, we encounter societies that have existed largely in shadow, organizations and networks whose influence stretches beyond the public record, whose rituals and knowledge were often kept deliberately secret. These are the secret societies and hidden orders, groups that operated quietly, sometimes for centuries, preserving wisdom, shaping events, or guarding knowledge deemed too potent or dangerous for the wider world. Unlike the monumental structures and ancient cities we have explored, these societies are defined not by stone or brick, but by ideas, symbols, and subtle acts of influence. Their presence is felt in the margins of history, where public narratives fade and the soft murmur of clandestine deliberation begins. Among the most famous of these groups are the Freemasons, whose lodges, symbols, and rituals have inspired both fascination and speculation for centuries. At first glance, Freemasonry may seem like a network of social clubs or charitable organizations, yet its deeper layers hint at a preservation of ancient knowledge, an encoded language of geometry, and an understanding of philosophy that stretches back millennia. The symbols, compasses, squares, and intricate engravings are not mere decoration. They serve as reminders, as guides to thought, subtly preserving knowledge across generations. Walking through the history of Freemasonry is like following the faint glow of a candle through a labyrinth. One sees fragments, glimpses of order and design, but the full pattern remains partially hidden, waiting to be discerned by those willing to linger and reflect. The Rosicrucians, another enigmatic order, emerge as a bridge between science, mysticism, and philosophy. Their writings, often cryptic, suggest a deep understanding of natural laws, human consciousness, and spiritual evolution. The secrecy surrounding their work was not only protective but deliberate, ensuring that knowledge was transmitted only to those who were prepared to understand it. In this, one sees the dual nature of forbidden knowledge. It is both a gift and a responsibility, something that must be approached with care, patience, and a measure of reverence. The very act of concealing it adds to its allure, creating a quiet tension between curiosity and restraint, between desire and understanding. Many of these hidden orders were not purely spiritual or philosophical. Some had significant influence on politics, science, and society at large. Their members, often positioned in critical roles, acted as custodians of knowledge and subtle guides of events. They operated in the spaces where public authority intersected with private insight, shaping history not with armies or decrees alone, but with ideas, counsel, and networks of influence. In this way, secret societies served as invisible threads weaving through the tapestry of human civilization, connecting disparate cultures, philosophies, and discoveries across time and place. What fascinates most is the blend of the ordinary with the extraordinary. The rituals of initiation, the symbols carved into stone or printed on vellum, and the teachings preserved orally create an almost hypnotic rhythm, an intertwining of the mundane and the mystical. One can imagine, in the quiet chambers of their lodges, initiates learning lessons encoded in geometry and allegory, discovering principles of ethics, science, and art in a way that is simultaneously practical and transcendent. It is a rhythm that mirrors the cadence of life itself, careful, deliberate, and attuned to the cycles of nature and consciousness. The allure of secret societies lies as much in what is hidden as in what can be glimpsed. Historical records are sparse, deliberately obscured, or written by outsiders who could not fully understand the inner workings of these orders. This scarcity fuels curiosity, inviting speculation, reflection, and imagination. It allows the mind to drift along paths that are both real and shadowed, considering the possibility that some of the knowledge preserved by these groups might have been intentionally kept from broader society to protect it from misuse, or to allow humanity to reach a stage of readiness before comprehending it fully. Symbols play a particularly significant role in the preservation of knowledge. From enigmatic geometric designs to coded allegories, these symbols are more than decoration. They are repositories of memory, capable of conveying meaning across centuries. They are quiet, persistent reminders of a philosophy that transcends the fleeting nature of time. A compass etched into a stone, a triangle embedded in a manuscript, a series of steps in an initiation ceremony. All these elements act as keys, inviting the observant to explore the layers of understanding carefully embedded by generations of thoughtful custodians. Secret societies also serve as a mirror to human curiosity and caution. They reveal a desire to preserve knowledge responsibly, acknowledging that some truths may be too powerful or too disruptive for immediate public consumption. They operate in the tension between revelation and concealment, balancing the human impulse to share and to guard. In contemplating their existence, one can sense a delicate interplay, light illuminating the known, shadow preserving the unknown. This interplay fosters a quiet sense of wonder, a soft meditation on the delicate stewardship of wisdom through time. Across continents and centuries, similar patterns emerge. From the enigmatic alchemical guilds of medieval Europe to mystical orders in Asia and the Americas, humanity has consistently created networks to guard and transmit specialized knowledge. Though separated by language, geography, and culture, these groups share a common ethos. That knowledge, once understood, carries responsibility, and that secrecy can sometimes be an act of care. The recurrence of these principles reminds us that hidden wisdom is not merely about power or influence. It is about the preservation of human potential, curiosity, and insight through time. In reflecting on secret societies, one also senses the subtle impact they have had on history. While often invisible in mainstream narratives, their influence can be traced in architecture, philosophy, science, and even political developments. The quiet guidance of such orders suggests that history is rarely the product of public events alone. It is also shaped by the careful stewardship of knowledge behind the scenes. This realization deepens our appreciation for the intricate, often hidden networks that have guided human thought, creativity, and innovation over centuries. Ultimately, exploring these hidden orders is like entering a dimly lit library where the air is heavy with the scent of parchment, wax, and time itself. One moves slowly, reverently, absorbing fragments of thought, glimpses of ritual, and whispers of forgotten teachings. There is no rush, no demand for comprehension. The journey is gentle, immersive, and reflective. The mind is invited to wander, to consider, and to dream quietly of the knowledge that once shaped civilizations from the shadows. In this quiet exploration, we begin to understand that secret societies are more than curiosities of history. They are guardians of human imagination, careful keepers of wisdom that could illuminate the world if approached with patience and respect. They exist at the boundary between revelation and mystery, a delicate dance of knowledge preserved and knowledge withheld. And as we follow their faint traces through time, we find ourselves not only learning about history, but feeling it, drifting through centuries of thought and practice, softly carried by the invisible currents of human curiosity, reflection, and wonder. History, as we learn in schools, is a curated collection, a story carefully edited, simplified, and sometimes sanitized. The narrative emphasizes victories, rulers, and grand events, leaving countless details, voices, and perspectives quietly erased. Yet for every emperor, every empire, and every battle remembered, there are millions of lives, entire cities, and profound events that have faded into shadow, lost to time, politics, or deliberate suppression. In the quiet spaces between the lines of textbooks lie forgotten stories, histories that were deemed inconvenient, controversial, or threatening to dominant narratives. These are the stories that reveal the full richness and complexity of human experience, stories that invite contemplation and wonder, allowing the mind to drift gently through the mysteries of the past. Imagine, for a moment, the civilizations and cultures that existed alongside the more famous empires but are rarely mentioned in history. There were cities of incredible sophistication in the Americas long before Columbus, their knowledge of astronomy, agriculture, and urban planning rivaling that of contemporary societies elsewhere. In Africa, kingdoms thrived with rich art, trade, and philosophy, yet their histories are often condensed to a handful of sentences in modern textbooks. Across Asia, empires rose and fell, leaving monuments, manuscripts, and intricate systems of governance that now survive only in fragments. These omissions are not simply gaps. They are whispers of a history that challenges the neat, linear progression of the story we have been taught. The reasons for such erasure are manifold. Political agendas have long shaped what is recorded and what is suppressed. Conquerors rewrote history to glorify their own triumphs and diminish the achievements of those they subdued. Religious authorities often censored or destroyed texts that challenged prevailing beliefs, creating a shadow history hidden from public view. Even natural disasters, decay, and neglect contributed to the loss of countless records. Yet these gaps, whether accidental or deliberate, form a kind of fertile darkness, inviting the imagination to fill in the spaces with speculation, contemplation, and quiet curiosity. One of the most poignant examples of erased history lies in the oral traditions of communities that were never given the tools to write their own stories. Generations passed down knowledge, myths, and historical accounts through song, story, and ritual. When these communities were disrupted by war, colonization, or cultural suppression, much of that knowledge vanished, leaving only traces that scholars and anthropologists struggle to reconstruct. In these gaps, one senses the human impulse to preserve meaning, to resist erasure, and to keep the flame of memory alive, even when the broader historical record refuses to acknowledge it. Consider also the lost rulers and cultures whose achievements were deliberately diminished. Women, minorities, and marginalized groups often shaped events and societies in profound ways, yet their contributions were left unrecorded or dismissed. Civilizations built by ordinary people, craftsmen, farmers, and scholars, sometimes disappeared from history simply because they did not fit the narrative favored by those in power. When we explore these erasures, we are drawn into a quiet meditation on justice, memory, and the selective nature of recorded history. There is a subtle beauty in recognizing that even in absence, these lost stories speak volumes, revealing the resilience, creativity, and complexity of human experience. Archaeology often illuminates what written records cannot. Excavations reveal cities swallowed by sand, tools buried beneath layers of earth, and art that survived by accident rather than design. Each artifact, each ruin, carries a story that textbooks have ignored, offering glimpses of lives once vibrant and societies once thriving. In the ruins of these forgotten places, one senses a dialogue across centuries. The earth itself becomes a repository of memory, preserving fragments of human ingenuity ritual, and daily life long after official records have disappeared. It is a quiet conversation, subtle and persistent, between the present and a past intentionally hidden or inadvertently forgotten. The tension between the preserved and the erased creates a unique space for contemplation. It highlights the fragility of memory and the power of perspective in shaping collective understanding. What we know is only a fraction of what existed. What has been forgotten or hidden can inspire curiosity, wonder, and reflection. As we navigate this liminal space, we are encouraged not to rush toward answers, but to linger in the questions. We imagine the bustling streets of lost cities, the laughter of children long gone, the hands of artisans shaping tools and art, and the quiet wisdom of scholars recording knowledge destined to vanish. In this gentle reverie, history becomes not a list of events, but a landscape to wander, full of shadowed corners, hidden rooms, and secret passages. Even the act of forgetting, whether deliberate or accidental, carries its own kind of poetry. There is a rhythm to the rise and fall of civilizations, to the ebb and flow of human memory. Some knowledge is suppressed for protection, some is destroyed in moments of upheaval, and some simply fades as generations pass. The traces that remain, texts, artifacts, ruins, and oral traditions, invite reflection on what it means to remember and to forget, to preserve and to conceal. They remind us that history is alive, not fixed, and that the past is a terrain shaped as much by absence as by presence. In contemplating censored and erased histories, we also begin to understand the subtle power of stories that survive. They teach resilience, curiosity, and the persistence of human imagination. Even when knowledge is buried, hidden, or overlooked, it leaves echoes that inspire future generations. These echoes often appear in unexpected places, in forgotten artifacts, in marginal notes of manuscripts, in oral traditions that survived against the odds. Each echo is a quiet invitation to explore further, to listen more closely, and to engage with the mysteries of human experience in a way that is both gentle and immersive. Thus, as we reflect on the stories that have been erased, we find ourselves moving along the delicate boundary between light and shadow, certainty and speculation. We drift softly through the spaces left behind, guided not by the urgency of discovery, but by the calm, persistent curiosity that allows the imagination to roam. In this quiet journey, we begin to appreciate the vastness of human history not merely for what is recorded, but for the richness of what has been lost, hidden, or deliberately concealed. And it is within this space of contemplation that our exploration of forbidden history deepens, preparing us for the next chapters where mysteries of science, technology, and knowledge await in the shadows, inviting the mind to wander gently and restfully. Among the many mysteries of forbidden history, perhaps none is more quietly compelling than the hidden achievements of ancient science. Across millennia, humans have observed, calculated, and experimented with the natural world, leaving traces of knowledge that challenge modern assumptions about the capabilities of our ancestors. These discoveries were not always preserved in textbooks, and some were deliberately suppressed, hidden, or forgotten. Yet the fragments that remain, astronomical charts, mechanical devices, medicinal texts, and intricate mathematical diagrams, offer glimpses into a sophisticated understanding of nature, physics, and the cosmos that continues to fascinate and inspire. Take, for example, the Antikythera mechanism, an ancient Greek device discovered in a shipwreck off the coast of Crete. Often described as the world's first known analog computer, it was designed to calculate celestial movements, predict eclipses, and track planetary cycles. For centuries, it was assumed that such mechanical sophistication was impossible in antiquity, yet here it lay, submerged beneath the waves, a testament to ingenuity that defied expectations. The device reminds us that human curiosity has always sought to understand the rhythms of the heavens, and that knowledge often precedes its widespread recognition or documentation. Its existence evokes both awe and a subtle disquiet, How many other instruments, manuscripts, or discoveries have been lost or concealed over time, waiting for accidental discovery to reveal them once more? Across the globe, ancient texts reveal surprising knowledge of medicine and biology. In India, the Ayurvedic texts describe complex surgical procedures, herbal remedies, and understandings of the body that rival modern approaches. In China, manuscripts dating back thousands of years discuss anatomy, acupuncture, and holistic approaches to health, reflecting a sophisticated awareness of the human system. Similarly, ancient Egyptian papyri describe techniques of preservation, pharmacology, and the management of disease, often with precision that astonishes contemporary scholars. These texts suggest that early civilizations were not merely surviving, but actively experimenting, observing, and recording patterns in nature with careful attention and subtle insight. Equally compelling are the achievements of ancient mathematics and engineering, which often appear in forms that seem inexplicable given the tools of their time. The precise alignment of the pyramids with cardinal points, the construction of aqueducts and irrigation systems in Mesopotamia, and the mathematical knowledge embedded in Mayan calendars all reflect an advanced understanding of geometry, physics, and astronomy. In many cases, these civilizations demonstrated an ability to measure, calculate, and predict natural phenomena in ways that were centuries ahead of what historians once believed possible. The elegance of their solutions speaks to a mind attuned to patterns, rhythms, and the underlying order of the universe, a mind capable of thinking both practically and poetically. Ancient observations of the cosmos also reveal a fascination with cycles, time, and celestial events. Across continents, cultures meticulously track the movement of the sun, moon, and stars, often embedding this knowledge into architecture, ritual, and record-keeping. Stone observatories, alignment of temples, and calendars were not merely symbolic. They represented an empirical attempt to understand the cosmos and its influence on life on Earth. In these practices, science, spirituality, and observation intersect, creating a holistic approach to knowledge that modern perspectives often overlook. The cosmos was both a guide and a mystery, an external clockwork to study, interpret, and harmonize with. Perhaps what makes these achievements so compelling is the way they straddle the boundary between the known and the unknown. While we can study the mechanisms, calculations, and manuscripts, we often lack the full context or purpose. Some devices remain partially understood, some formulas incomplete, and some procedures inscrutable to modern eyes. It is in these gaps that imagination and contemplation take root, allowing the mind to wander gently among possibilities. Could there have been schools or networks of knowledge now lost? Were there texts or instruments deliberately hidden because their understanding was deemed dangerous or sacred? These questions linger softly, like the distant echo of a bell, inviting reflection rather than urgency. The quiet genius of ancient science is often intertwined with cultural and philosophical perspectives. Knowledge was not purely empirical. It was integrated with ritual, cosmology, and ethics. Observing the heavens was also a spiritual practice. Understanding the body was a way of understanding life itself. This blending of science and philosophy suggests that human curiosity has always been more than the pursuit of facts. It is also a meditation on existence, a dialogue with nature, and a contemplation of our place within the universe. In this sense, ancient science is as much poetry as it is calculation, as much imagination as it is measurement. One of the most remarkable aspects of these discoveries is the subtlety with which they persist. Unlike monumental architecture or dramatic events, much of ancient scientific knowledge survived in fragments. The careful recording of an eclipse, a diagram etched on a fragment of clay, a set of observations written in a marginal note. These fragments, though delicate, have the power to transport us across centuries, connecting us with minds that pondered the same questions, sought the same patterns, and dreamed of understanding the universe in ways both practical and profound. In the quiet of contemplation, one can almost feel the pulse of discovery, the slow, careful work of observation and experimentation, stretching backward in time. Moreover, the mysteries of ancient science highlight the selective nature of historical memory. While some knowledge was preserved and transmitted, other discoveries were lost due to war, natural disaster, or deliberate suppression. The selective survival of information reminds us that what we know is only a fraction of what has ever been observed, calculated, or imagined. Each fragment we uncover is a window into a vast, partially hidden landscape of human understanding, inviting reflection, curiosity, and wonder. The mind, untethered by the need for certainty, can wander through these spaces, tracing the contours of lost wisdom and marveling at the ingenuity of those who came before. In contemplating these ancient achievements, we are reminded that the pursuit of knowledge is timeless. Curiosity, observation, and experimentation are not modern inventions. They are enduring aspects of human nature. The ancients, working with rudimentary tools, limited technology, and fragmented information, achieved insights that still inspire awe. Their work invites us to consider not only what they understood, but also what remains hidden, knowledge that could reshape our perception of history, technology, and human capability. As the mind drifts through these reflections, it begins to settle into a quiet rhythm, absorbing the grandeur, subtlety, and mystery of ancient science. The discoveries, both tangible and conceptual, form a bridge between past and present, between the known and the unknown. In this space, contemplation becomes meditation, and curiosity transforms into a gentle journey through time. We are carried softly through the ingenuity of our ancestors, marveling at what was achieved, pondering what was lost, and allowing the mysteries of forbidden knowledge to guide us into deeper understanding, reflection, and a sense of calm wonder. Beyond the abstract elegance of ancient science, there lies another layer of mystery, lost technologies and inventions that hint at human ingenuity far ahead of their time. These are not merely practical tools. They are artifacts of creativity, imagination, and experimentation, often concealed by time, circumstance, or deliberate secrecy. From intricate mechanical devices to methods of construction and energy use, evidence suggests that our ancestors possessed skills and knowledge that continue to puzzle modern researchers. Exploring these inventions allows us to glimpse a world where human curiosity and craftsmanship reached extraordinary heights, often without leaving clear explanations behind. Consider the Baghdad Battery, a curious artifact found in Mesopotamia, consisting of a clay jar, a copper cylinder, and an iron rod. Some researchers have speculated that it could function as a primitive electrical device. While its exact purpose remains uncertain, the artifact raises profound questions about the understanding of energy and chemistry in ancient civilizations. Was it used for ritualistic purposes, early experimentation with electricity, or simply as a symbolic object? The ambiguity itself invites reflection, drawing the imagination into the spaces where fact and possibility intertwine. Equally mysterious are the feats of engineering embedded in monumental constructions. The precision of stone cutting in the Incan walls of Machu Picchu or Sacsayhuaman remains a subject of fascination. Massive stones, some weighing over 100 tons, fit together so precisely that not even a knife blade can pass between them. How these civilizations accomplished such feats without modern tools or machinery is still debated. Was it sheer human labor, a deep understanding of leverage, or perhaps knowledge of techniques that have since been lost? The absence of clear records only deepens the sense of awe, emphasizing the contrast between what we can observe and what remains hidden beneath the surface of history. Lost inventions also appear in the realm of transportation and navigation. Ancient maps and instruments suggest knowledge of geography and astronomy that allowed civilizations to traverse vast distances, even oceans, long before commonly acknowledged eras of exploration. The Polynesians, for example, navigated the Pacific with extraordinary precision, using the stars, ocean currents, and bird patterns as guides. In other parts of the world, Devices like the Antikythera mechanism indicate sophisticated mechanical understanding capable of tracking celestial bodies with remarkable accuracy. These technologies, while sometimes simple in appearance, reflect complex understanding and a deep harmony with nature, suggesting that ingenuity was not constrained by the tools at hand. In addition, there are artifacts and texts hinting at lost approaches to medicine, metallurgy, and chemistry. Alchemical recipes, early surgical instruments, and metallurgical techniques described in obscure manuscripts suggest a knowledge base that could rival or even exceed modern equivalents in certain contexts. Some recipes and methods, once commonplace, have been lost to time, leaving only tantalizing hints for researchers to reconstruct. The meticulous records, often encoded or hidden, suggest that these civilizations valued careful experimentation and the preservation of techniques, even when the broader world was not aware of their significance. The very act of losing a technology speaks volumes about human history. Some inventions vanished due to societal collapse, natural disaster, or conquest. Others were deliberately suppressed or restricted to maintain power structures. In each case, the absence of knowledge is as significant as its presence. Lost technologies remind us that history is neither linear nor complete. It is shaped by what survives, what is concealed, and what is remembered. The mind, encountering these gaps, is invited to wander gently, to imagine the hands that created, the minds that theorized, and the worlds that were once transformed by human ingenuity. The allure of lost inventions is heightened by the subtle interplay between the ordinary and the extraordinary. Many artifacts appear deceptively simple, small mechanisms, carved stones, or simple jars, yet they hint at ideas far beyond their apparent function. This duality captures the essence of forbidden history. What is visible is only a fraction of what was achieved, and the true depth often lies just out of reach, whispering to the imagination in quiet, persistent tones. In contemplating these lost technologies, we experience a sense of connection across centuries, linking the present with minds that thought creatively, innovated boldly, and experimented fearlessly. Ultimately, the study of lost technologies encourages a deeper reflection on human curiosity and resilience. These inventions are reminders that knowledge is not always linear, that creativity can flourish in surprising contexts, and that the boundaries of possibility are constantly being tested by the human spirit. In this gentle exploration, we are not only observing history, we are participating in a quiet dialogue with it, allowing the imagination to wander through the possibilities that were, the knowledge that vanished, and the mysteries that remain. As we linger in these reflections, the mind begins to settle into a calm rhythm, tracing the contours of lost wisdom and imagining a world where invention and exploration flourished quietly in the shadows. The inventions themselves, though partially lost, continue to inspire awe and curiosity, encouraging a gentle, meditative engagement with history. And it is in this quiet, immersive reflection that the journey through forbidden history deepens, preparing the mind for the next chapter, where ancient knowledge intersects with spiritual insight, ritual, and a hidden understanding of the universe. Beyond the tangible achievements of ancient civilizations, we encounter another layer of human endeavor, ancient mysticism and hidden knowledge. This realm, often obscured by allegory, ritual, and symbolism, speaks to humanity's enduring curiosity about the unseen forces that shape our existence. Across cultures and continents, humans have sought to understand not only the physical world, but also the invisible threads of energy, consciousness, and the cosmos. Temples, manuscripts, sacred geometries, and ceremonial practices all hint at an intricate web of understanding, knowledge that was often preserved in secrecy, accessible only to those initiated into its mysteries. In Egypt, for example, the mysticism of the pharaohs was deeply intertwined with knowledge of the cosmos. Temples and pyramids were not merely tombs or places of worship. They were constructed with precise astronomical alignments, reflecting an understanding of the stars, planets, and cycles of time. The rituals performed within these sacred spaces were designed to attune human consciousness to the rhythms of a universe, to create harmony between the earthly and the divine. In this context, mysticism was not mere superstition, but a sophisticated system of observation, meditation, and applied knowledge, a way to bridge the visible and invisible worlds. Similarly, in India, the Vedas and Upanishads contain layers of spiritual and philosophical knowledge encoded in poetry, mantra, and ritual. The words themselves are not only instructions, but also tools for altering consciousness, awakening awareness, and connecting with the subtle forces of the universe. Yoga, meditation, and alchemy in these traditions reflect a profound understanding of the mind and body, where physical practices, breath control, and contemplation are interwoven with cosmological insight. The knowledge was often transmitted orally, ensuring that it reached only those prepared to grasp its depth, preserving its integrity across generations. Mysticism in the ancient world often blended with science and mathematics. The precise use of sacred geometry in structures like the Parthenon, the Great Pyramid, or the temples of Angkor suggests that numerical ratios, shapes, and alignments were more than aesthetic choices. They were symbolic expressions of cosmic principles, offering initiates a way to perceive and interact with the unseen patterns of reality. Each measurement, angle, and proportion was a key, a method to encode and transmit wisdom in a manner that was subtle, yet enduring. The interplay of mathematics, art, and ritual underscores the integrated approach to knowledge that ancient cultures cultivated, a balance of logic, intuition, and spiritual insight. The Hermetic traditions of the Mediterranean world offer another window into hidden knowledge. Texts such as the Corpus Hermeticum speak of principles of nature, the mind, and the divine, blending philosophy, alchemy, and cosmology. The writings were often cryptic, layered with symbolism, and transmitted only to trusted students, creating a lineage of knowledge that survived centuries of suppression, conquest, and cultural change. The Hermetic teachings emphasize the interconnectedness of all things, suggesting that understanding the self, the mind, and the natural world is inseparable from understanding the cosmos. These insights, though ancient, resonate with modern explorations of consciousness, physics, and philosophy, bridging time and thought in subtle, quiet ways. In many cultures, mysticism was inseparable from ritual practice. Ceremonies, initiations, and sacred performances were designed to impart knowledge experientially, rather than intellectually. Participants learned through symbols, gestures, and repetition, absorbing principles that could not be captured in words alone. In this way, knowledge was both preserved and protected. Only those who were ready, who had undergone the proper preparation and discipline, could access its deeper meanings. This method ensured continuity, guarded against misuse, and reinforced the notion that wisdom carries responsibility. Ancient mysticism also encompasses the study of cycles, time, and hidden natural laws. Celestial observation, astrological calculation, and seasonal rituals were common across societies, from Maya in Central America to the Celts in Europe. These practices were not purely predictive. They offered insight into the rhythms of life, growth, decay, and transformation. Understanding these patterns allowed societies to harmonize with the natural world, guiding agriculture, spiritual practice, and social organization. Mysticism, in this sense, was practical as well as philosophical, offering tools for survival, well-being, and attunement to the forces that shape existence. The transmission of hidden knowledge often involved secrecy, encoded language, and symbolic representation. Alchemical texts, mystical diagrams, and encoded manuscripts preserved wisdom in ways that required careful study and contemplation. The secrecy served multiple purposes, protecting sacred truths, ensuring that only prepared minds could access them, and creating a sense of reverence for the knowledge itself. This interplay of concealment and revelation heightened the allure of forbidden knowledge, inviting contemplation and imagination rather than immediate comprehension. It is a gentle tension, a quiet meditation on the mysteries that lie just beyond ordinary perception. What makes ancient mysticism so compelling is its enduring relevance. Despite centuries of cultural change, conquest, and suppression, fragments of these teachings survive, influencing philosophy, science, and spirituality across the world. The enduring patterns of thought, ritual, and symbolism suggest that there are truths that transcend culture and time, waiting to be rediscovered and reflected upon. Engaging with these mysteries invites the mind to slow down, to observe, and to wander softly through the interwoven layers of history, culture, and consciousness. In exploring ancient mysticism, one begins to see the subtle thread connecting human curiosity, observation, and insight. Knowledge was rarely pursued for mere utility. It was a way of understanding the self, the cosmos, and the unseen forces that shape life. The mind of the ancients moved fluidly between the physical and spiritual, between experimentation and contemplation, between observation and ritual. Their achievements, whether in architecture, astronomy, meditation, or coded manuscripts, reflect an integrated approach to wisdom, one that encompasses both visible reality and hidden truth. As we drift through these reflections, a sense of calm emerges. The mysteries of hidden knowledge, preserved in cryptic texts, sacred geometries, and ritual practices, offer not just fascination, but a gentle rhythm for contemplation. They remind us that history is layered, that knowledge is both revealed and concealed, and that human curiosity has always sought to bridge the gap between the known and the unknown. In this quiet space, the mind can rest, wander, and marvel, gently absorbing the intricate web of ideas, symbols, and insights that form the hidden heart of ancient mysticism. As we delve further into the hidden layers of human history, we arrive at the subtle, profound realm of forbidden knowledge within religion and philosophy. Across cultures, spiritual and philosophical traditions have often contained teachings that were restricted to a select few, initiates, scholars, or those deemed ready to grasp deeper truths. These teachings were rarely written plainly. Instead, they were encoded in parables, allegories, rituals, and sacred symbols, designed to protect the wisdom from misinterpretation or misuse. They represent a quiet interplay between revelation and concealment, a deliberate shaping of knowledge to both guide and challenge the human mind, allowing those who were prepared to explore the hidden dimensions of existence. In many religious traditions, what is preserved for the public is only a fraction of the deeper, esoteric teachings. In Christianity, for example, scholars suggest that early Gnostic texts contained insights into human consciousness, divine nature, and spiritual evolution that were suppressed or excluded from canonical scripture. These writings hint at a more nuanced understanding of the relationship between humanity and the divine, emphasizing inner knowledge, self-awareness, and the transformative power of insight. While mainstream teachings often focused on moral law or historical narrative, these hidden texts offered guidance for a spiritual journey that was inward as well as upward, revealing dimensions of faith that invite contemplation rather than dictate belief. Similarly, in Judaism, the Kabbalistic tradition conveys layers of hidden wisdom about the structure of the universe, the nature of the soul, and the flow of divine energy. Kabbalistic texts employ intricate symbolism, numerical patterns, and allegorical storytelling, creating a framework for understanding existence that is both mystical and philosophical. Access to these teachings was traditionally restricted to those who had demonstrated dedication, ethical grounding, and a capacity for reflection, emphasizing that profound knowledge is inseparable from preparation and responsibility. The esoteric traditions remind us that spiritual insight is not merely informational. It is experiential, requiring careful observation, meditation, and ethical practice. Eastern philosophies, too, often contain knowledge that was selectively transmitted. In Taoism, for instance, texts such as the Tao Te Ching speak in layers of paradox and metaphor, guiding readers toward understanding the subtle principles of nature, harmony, and the flow of life. The words themselves are intentionally enigmatic, designed to encourage reflection rather than straightforward comprehension. Similarly, in Buddhist teachings, certain meditative practices and philosophical doctrines were reserved for advanced practitioners, with the understanding that premature access could lead to confusion or misapplication. In these traditions, the concealment of knowledge is not secrecy for its own sake, but a protective and guiding principle, emphasizing the maturity required to engage with profound truths. Philosophical traditions often intersect with religion in ways that preserve hidden knowledge. Ancient Greek mystery schools, for instance, combined philosophy, cosmology, and ritual to cultivate wisdom that was intended to transform the individual. Initiates were introduced gradually to the principles of ethics, metaphysics, and the nature of reality, with teachings encoded in stories, symbols, and ceremonial practice. The knowledge transmitted in these contexts was both practical and metaphysical, aimed at developing discernment, critical thought, and an awareness of unseen dimensions of life. This deliberate pacing and layering of instruction created a form of education that was immersive, reflective, and deeply human. The common thread across these religious and philosophical traditions is the idea that knowledge carries responsibility. Forbidden knowledge is often hidden not to limit curiosity, but to ensure that those who encounter it are prepared to understand and respect its implications. Ethical and spiritual maturity are prerequisites for access, reflecting a deep awareness of the potential consequences of insight. Across cultures, this principle manifests in rituals of initiation, the careful study of symbols, and the gradual unfolding of understanding. It is a quiet lesson in patience, humility, and discernment, a reminder that wisdom is not simply acquired. It is earned, experienced, and internalized. History shows that the suppression or concealment of knowledge has often been a response to social, political, or religious pressures. Teachings that challenged authority, deviated from orthodox belief, or threatened established hierarchies were frequently hidden, destroyed, or distorted. Yet even in these circumstances, fragments survived. Hidden manuscripts, oral traditions, allegorical stories, or encoded symbols that persisted quietly, waiting for rediscovery. The endurance of these fragments speaks to the resilience of human curiosity and the subtle ways in which knowledge finds ways to endure, even against forces that would seek to erase it. Engaging with these hidden teachings invites a contemplative approach to history, spirituality, and philosophy. It encourages a quiet attention to symbolism, metaphor, and narrative nuance, allowing the mind to wander through layers of meaning without the urgency of concrete resolution. In this reflective space, the boundaries between fact and allegory, history and myth, instruction and mystery begin to blur, creating a gentle rhythm of thought that is both immersive and meditative. The mind drifts softly through centuries of reflection, absorbing lessons not only from what was recorded but also from what was concealed. Forbidden knowledge in religion and philosophy also serves as a reminder of the limits of comprehension. Humans have long recognized that some truths are too vast, too subtle, or too transformative to be understood immediately or superficially. By encoding wisdom in allegory, ritual, or symbolism, ancient thinkers preserved insight while encouraging contemplation, patience, and ethical engagement. This approach nurtures a form of learning that is continuous, reflective, and deeply personal, fostering an intimate dialogue between the seeker and the mysteries they pursue. Ultimately, exploring forbidden knowledge in religion and philosophy reveals a profound continuity across cultures and eras. Despite differences in geography, language, and belief, human beings consistently grappled with questions of meaning, existence, and the unseen forces shaping life. They developed methods to preserve, transmit, and protect knowledge, emphasizing the ethical and contemplative dimensions of understanding. In this, we encounter a shared human endeavor, the desire to seek insight, navigate mystery, and engage with the profound dimensions of existence, all while respecting the responsibility that such understanding entails. In the quiet reflection of these teachings, the mind finds a gentle rhythm, moving between revelation and concealment, understanding and mystery. The concealed knowledge of the past becomes a space for contemplation, imagination, and calm wonder, offering insight not only into human history, but also into the perennial pursuit of wisdom. As we drift softly through the layers of hidden philosophy and religion, we are invited to engage with the subtle interplay of thought, ritual, and reflection, allowing the mind to rest, explore, and marvel at the enduring mysteries of human understanding. As we move further into the quiet corridors of forbidden history, we encounter the shadowed realm of conspiracies, suppression, and knowledge deliberately kept from the public eye. Across centuries, certain truths, discoveries, and ideas have been hidden, not merely lost to time, but actively suppressed, controlled, or manipulated by those in power. The reasons for such concealment are varied: political control, religious authority, fear of societal upheaval, or the recognition that certain knowledge carries consequences beyond immediate understanding. In this delicate interplay between revelation and concealment, one begins to sense the subtle tension that has shaped human history, a tension that invites contemplation rather than alarm, reflection rather than judgment. Consider the manuscripts and texts that vanished under mysterious circumstances. Libraries, archives, and private collections have been destroyed by fire, war, or deliberate neglect, taking with them centuries of accumulated wisdom. In some cases, rulers or religious authorities deemed certain knowledge too dangerous for widespread circulation, whether it concerned astronomy, medicine, philosophy, or esoteric traditions. Ancient texts describing advanced technologies, hidden spiritual practices, or revolutionary ideas were sometimes rewritten, censored, or buried entirely. The echoes of these losses linger quietly, suggesting that history is as much defined by what is hidden as by what is recorded. The notion of conspiracy often evokes a sense of fear or suspicion. Yet at its core, many historical conspiracies reflect human attempts to preserve order, protect secrets, or control the flow of knowledge. Secretive councils, hidden societies, and clandestine networks have shaped events behind the scenes, subtly guiding politics, culture, and science. In some instances, knowledge was withheld to maintain social stability, to prevent misuse, or to protect powerful ideas until society was ready to receive them. This creates a quiet rhythm in history: revelation and concealment, disclosure and suppression, light and shadow, all interwoven in patterns that are often invisible to those observing from the outside. One of the most intriguing aspects of suppression is its deliberate subtlety. Knowledge was rarely destroyed outright. It was often disguised, encoded, or fragmented, leaving traces for the perceptive observer. Symbols, allegories, and encrypted manuscripts served as repositories for forbidden knowledge, accessible only to those who understood the codes, the metaphors, or the rituals necessary to unlock meaning. This method of preservation ensures that wisdom can survive across generations, even under circumstances that might otherwise have eradicated it. In contemplating these layers of concealment, one is drawn into a meditative appreciation of human ingenuity, patience, and careful stewardship of knowledge. Religious and political authorities have historically played significant roles in suppression. Ideas that challenged established doctrine or threatened the legitimacy of rulers were frequently censored. In some cases, scholars and thinkers were silenced, their works destroyed or hidden, leaving future generations with tantalizing fragments and cryptic references. The tension between curiosity and control created an intricate dance, where forbidden knowledge was both feared and revered, suppressed and preserved, inspiring generations to seek, reconstruct, and reflect upon truths that had been hidden. This interplay reveals much about the fragility of understanding and the power dynamics that shape the historical record. Even in the realm of science and technology, suppression has left its mark. Discoveries that could have transformed societies, whether medical, mechanical, or astronomical, were sometimes withheld, their knowledge preserved only in obscurity or within secret networks. The Antikythera mechanism, the Baghdad battery, and other enigmatic devices are reminders that human ingenuity often outpaces the societal context in which it arises. When knowledge threatens to disrupt existing structures or understanding, concealment becomes a quiet, deliberate act, protecting both the discovery and those who wield it. The result is a layered history, a rhythm of revelation and loss, inviting reflection on the ephemeral nature of human memory and accomplishment. The psychological and philosophical aspects of suppression are equally compelling. Forbidden knowledge, by its very nature, stirs curiosity, wonder, and imagination. The mind is drawn toward what is hidden, not by obligation, but by fascination, finding meaning in gaps, absences, and shadows. The quiet tension between what is revealed and what is concealed encourages meditation, careful thought, and introspection. It is a rhythm that resonates with the cycles of night and day, conscious thought and dreaming, observation and reflection. In this way, suppressed knowledge serves not only as a historical phenomenon, but also as a mirror for our own curiosity and capacity for contemplation. Historical conspiracies are not always sinister. Some represent an attempt to safeguard knowledge for the future. Secretive societies, hidden libraries, and coded texts were often created with the intention of protecting wisdom from destruction, misuse, or misinterpretation. The preservation of alchemical texts, esoteric manuscripts, and philosophical treatises demonstrates a deep awareness of the fragility of understanding and the responsibilities inherent in knowledge. By encoding information, ancient thinkers and custodians of wisdom ensured that truth could survive, even in the shadows, until the world was ready to receive it. The interplay of concealment and revelation also highlights the human capacity for discovery and imagination. As researchers, scholars, and explorers uncover fragments of suppressed knowledge, they reconstruct possibilities, trace patterns, and awaken long-lost insights. Each recovered text, artifact, or symbol is a gentle reminder that human history is dynamic, layered, and perpetually open to reinterpretation. Forbidden knowledge, in this sense, is not static. It lives quietly in the margins, waiting for attentive minds to perceive, ponder, and connect the threads. In reflecting on conspiracies, suppression, and forbidden knowledge, one comes to appreciate the delicate balance between power, curiosity, and wisdom. The shadows of history are not merely empty spaces. They are filled with whispers of forgotten truths, remnants of careful preservation, and traces of human ingenuity. The act of exploration, even in imagination, becomes a meditation, a journey through centuries of thought, secrecy, and careful stewardship of understanding. The mind drifts gently through these layers, contemplating the choices made by those who recorded, concealed, or safeguarded knowledge, and the subtle ways in which history has been shaped by these decisions. Ultimately, forbidden knowledge and the forces that have suppressed it invite a calm reflection on human nature itself. We are reminded that curiosity is eternal, that the desire to understand often collides with the impulse to control, and that wisdom requires both discovery and discernment. In this quiet, contemplative space, one can trace the rhythms of concealment and revelation, feeling the pulse of human history not only in the events that were recorded, but also in those deliberately hidden. It is a space of gentle wonder, where the mind can linger, explore, and rest, absorbing the mysteries of the past while reflecting on the enduring pursuit of understanding. As we wander deeper into the quieter corners of forbidden history, we arrive at a realm that has long captivated human imagination, the unsolved mysteries of the ancient world. These are puzzles, structures, and phenomena that continue to elude explanation, defying the limits of modern understanding. From colossal monuments whose construction seems impossible given the technology of their time, to enigmatic texts that have yet to be fully deciphered, these mysteries linger like faint echoes, inviting the mind to drift gently through possibilities rather than demanding resolution. In contemplating them, we enter a space where wonder, curiosity, and reflection merge, creating a calm, meditative rhythm that carries us softly across centuries. Consider the pyramids of Giza, whose precision and alignment continue to astonish engineers and historians alike. Each stone block fits with incredible accuracy, some weighing several tons, and the entire complex aligns precisely with celestial bodies, including the Orion constellation. How such massive structures were erected without modern machinery remains a topic of debate, and yet the very mystery of it encourages a quiet reflection on human ingenuity and persistence. The pyramids invite us to imagine not only the physical labor involved, but also the cultural, spiritual, and intellectual context in which these structures were conceived, a reminder that knowledge and vision often transcend what seems possible. Equally compelling are the enigmatic carvings and megaliths scattered across continents. Sites such as Stonehenge, Göbekli Tepe, and the Moai of Easter Island present questions that seem to resist definitive answers. Their purpose, construction methods, and precise cultural significance are subjects of speculation, yet the very act of pondering them draws us into a contemplative state. In these silent monuments, we feel the weight of human aspiration, the desire to leave something enduring, and the subtle interplay of art, astronomy, and ritual. Each standing stone, each carefully shaped monument, becomes a quiet testament to human curiosity and creativity, a whisper across time that encourages reflection rather than certainty. Texts and inscriptions add another layer of intrigue. Ancient manuscripts, some partially lost or encoded, speak of practices, knowledge, or events that we can glimpse but not fully understand. The Voynich manuscript, for example, is filled with strange botanical drawings, astrological charts, and an unknown language that has confounded cryptographers and linguists for centuries. Its pages are a gentle invitation to wonder, allowing the mind to explore possibilities without the pressure of final answers. Each symbol, diagram, and line of text evokes the patience, observation, and imagination of its creators, offering a meditation on the enduring human desire to record, preserve, and transmit understanding. The unsolved mysteries of the ancient world are often closely tied to hidden knowledge and lost technologies. Devices like the Antikythera mechanism, which could predict astronomical events with remarkable accuracy, hint at a depth of understanding that has yet to be fully replicated or explained. Similarly, architectural marvels such as the Great Wall of China, the underground cities of Cappadocia, and the aqueducts of Rome demonstrate sophisticated engineering and logistical insight that continue to fascinate and challenge modern scholars. These mysteries remind us that human history is not linear, that ingenuity can emerge in unexpected places, and that the gaps in our understanding invite gentle exploration rather than frustration. Natural landscapes themselves are entwined with mystery. Ancient civilizations often constructed monuments, temples, and sacred sites in alignment with mountains, rivers, or celestial events, suggesting a profound awareness of natural patterns and cycles. The Nazca lines in Peru, visible only from the air, remain a particularly striking example. Their purpose, whether ceremonial, astronomical, or symbolic, is still debated, yet the very existence of these gigantic designs inspires quiet reflection. Observing them, one feels the presence of intent, of knowledge encoded in scale, line, and landscape, a subtle reminder that humans have long sought to harmonize with the natural world and leave their mark upon it. These unsolved mysteries are not merely historical curiosities. They carry philosophical and psychological significance. They encourage humility, patience, and wonder, reminding us that human understanding is always evolving. The gaps in our knowledge invite imagination, reflection, and a gentle sense of awe. Unlike modern problems that demand immediate solutions, ancient mysteries offer a slower, softer rhythm of engagement. allowing the mind to drift through time, to consider what might have been and what remains hidden. In this way, they are ideal companions for quiet contemplation and immersive reflection. Even the absence of answers has its own subtle beauty. The very fact that certain questions remain unresolved preserves a space for curiosity, encouraging us to explore, imagine, and meditate. Each unresolved mystery is like a quiet door into the past, inviting us to step softly through and observe, without the urgency of solving, without the pressure of completion. The mind is allowed to wander freely, tracing the faint outlines of lost knowledge, contemplating the ingenuity of ancient civilizations, and experiencing a calm sense of connection across time. In many ways, unsolved mysteries illuminate the human relationship with knowledge itself. They show that understanding is never final, that discovery and wonder are ongoing processes. They encourage patience and reflection, offering insights into both the past and the way we engage with it today. By meditating on these mysteries, we align ourselves with the rhythms of curiosity that have guided humanity for millennia, a gentle, persistent impulse to seek, to observe, and to marvel. Ultimately, ancient mysteries that remain unsolved remind us that the past is a living landscape full of shadowed corners, hidden doors, and subtle echoes. They teach that wonder can exist without certainty, that curiosity can flourish in the absence of answers, and that history is as much about contemplation as it is about facts. In drifting through these mysteries, the mind finds a gentle cadence, a soft meditation on human ingenuity, creativity, and the enduring allure of the unknown. The unsolved questions of our ancestors become companions, guiding us through time, encouraging reflection, and carrying us softly toward the next layers of forbidden history yet to be explored. As we move closer to the end of our journey through forbidden history, we begin to notice subtle threads weaving together the mysteries, lost knowledge, and hidden achievements of the past. Across continents and centuries, patterns emerge, echoes of civilizations, technologies, philosophies, and rituals that hint at connections deeper than coincidence. These hidden patterns suggest that history is not merely a series of isolated events, but a tapestry, intricate and interconnected, where knowledge, creativity, and curiosity flow in ways that transcend geography and time. Contemplating these patterns invites a gentle reflection on the unity of human endeavor, the rhythms that bind us to our ancestors, and the quiet continuity of thought across generations. One striking example lies in the recurring focus on celestial observation. From the pyramids of Egypt to the observatories of Mesopotamia, from the Mayan temples in Central America to the stone circles of Europe, ancient civilizations consistently align structures, calendars, and rituals with the movements of the stars, sun, and moon. This shared emphasis on the heavens speaks to a universal curiosity, a desire to understand cycles, rhythms, and the forces that govern life. It is a subtle reminder that despite differences in culture, language, or belief, humans have always sought to connect the terrestrial with the celestial, to read the sky as a guide for both practical and spiritual life. Sacred geometry and architecture reveal another thread. Across distant civilizations, we find proportional systems, precise alignments, and symbolic designs embedded in monuments and cities. Whether in the intricate carvings of Angkor Wat, the layout of Teotihuacan, or the labyrinthine temples of Malta, geometry becomes a language, a way to encode knowledge and harmonize with natural and cosmic laws. These patterns suggest a shared understanding, or perhaps a convergent discovery, of principles that govern both nature and human perception. The recurrence of these designs across disparate cultures invites reflection on the universality of human curiosity and the subtle ways knowledge can emerge independently yet resonate with familiar rhythms. Another hidden pattern emerges in the interplay between knowledge and secrecy. Across time and culture, humans have recognized that certain truths require preparation, discretion, or gradual revelation. Esoteric traditions, initiation rites, encoded manuscripts, and concealed technologies all reflect a careful stewardship of wisdom. This pattern of concealment and selective transmission underscores an enduring understanding. Knowledge is powerful, and access carries responsibility. The recurrence of this approach in multiple societies suggests a shared recognition of the fragility and value of understanding, a quiet insight that spans continents and centuries. Cycles of rise and fall form yet another recurring motif. Civilizations flourish, discoveries are made, knowledge is codified, and then societies decline, leaving behind ruins, artifacts, and traces of wisdom. The repetition of these cycles across different regions highlights both the impermanence of human achievement and the resilience of knowledge. What is lost is often partially preserved, leaving fragments that invite reconstruction, speculation, and reflection. In observing these cycles, we become aware of the delicate balance between creation and decay, memory and oblivion, light and shadow, a rhythm that quietly resonates with the natural cycles we observe in life and in the universe. Even the unsolved mysteries themselves contribute to the sense of hidden patterns. Colossal structures, enigmatic texts, lost technologies, and secretive philosophies often echo each other across space and time. These echoes do not always imply direct connection. Rather, they reveal the recurrence of certain impulses, the desire to understand the cosmos, to manipulate the environment, to explore consciousness, and to preserve knowledge for future generations. Recognizing these motifs allows us to perceive history not as a chaotic sequence, but as a gently flowing landscape, where curiosity, creativity, and contemplation trace subtle, recurring pathways. The hidden patterns connecting history's secrets also invite reflection on the nature of human thought. Across cultures, humans have demonstrated a persistent drive to seek knowledge, explore the unknown, and harmonize with forces both visible and invisible. This drive manifests in diverse ways, through construction, observation, philosophy, ritual, or invention, but its essence remains consistent, a quest to understand, preserve, and transmit understanding. Observing these recurring patterns inspires a sense of connection with our ancestors, a quiet recognition that we are participants in a long, continuous endeavor to explore the mysteries of existence. In contemplating these hidden threads, one begins to see the larger tapestry of history as a living, breathing entity. Every lost city, suppressed manuscript, encoded ritual, and unsolved mystery becomes a node in a vast network of human curiosity. Each thread, no matter how faint or fragmented, contributes to the intricate design of our collective past. By following these patterns with patience and reflection, we engage not only with historical facts, but also with the rhythms, intuitions, and aspirations that shaped human experience over millennia. Ultimately, recognizing the hidden patterns connecting history's secrets is both a meditation and an invitation. It encourages the mind to wander softly, tracing connections between civilizations, ideas, and innovations that might otherwise appear isolated. It reminds us that history is not merely linear or random, but a complex, interwoven tapestry where human ingenuity, curiosity, and wonder persist across time. In this gentle contemplation, the mind finds rhythm, calm, and a sense of continuity, a subtle preparation for the reflective closure that follows as we rest amidst the shadows and light of forbidden history. As our journey through the hidden corners of history comes to a gentle close, we pause to reflect on the quiet allure of forbidden knowledge. The fascination of these lost truths lies not in shocking revelations, but in the subtle curiosity they awaken, a curiosity that drifts softly, like a whisper through the corridors of time. Across centuries, some knowledge has been deliberately hidden, some forgotten, and some may forever remain beyond our grasp. Yet even in their absence, they leave faint traces, inscriptions on weathered stones, the echo of rituals in deserted temples, or the delicate remnants of manuscripts once carefully guarded. These whispers invite contemplation, urging us to consider not only what is known, but also what has been lost and the mysteries that remain unclaimed by history. There is a gentle poetry in allowing questions to remain unanswered. The unknown becomes not a source of anxiety, but a companion, guiding the mind through shadows and light, presence and absence. Each artifact, each ruin, each suppressed idea is a testament to human curiosity and ingenuity, a reminder that history is less a collection of rigid facts than a tapestry of interconnected stories. In this quiet reflection, we can see the beauty of the human spirit reaching through time, striving to understand, to create, and to leave a mark that lingers even when forgotten. As night falls over ancient ruins and the wind murmurs through empty corridors, we realize that forbidden history does not demand solutions. It offers serenity and wonder, a peaceful invitation to imagine and ponder, to let the mind drift freely through the mysteries that shape our collective memory. In this calm space between what is known and what remains hidden, the mind can rest, soothed by the enduring rhythm of curiosity and embraced by the soft, eternal allure of stories untold.